I'm gonna get started kind of pulling a general card for everyone here today. Just some kind of general wisdom from the tarot. And I've been doing this the last couple of weeks and saying that this is kind of our message from the universe this week. So that's what I'm going to do. I am just kind of shuffling these cards in my hands. I shuffle lots of different ways. Sometimes I kind of do the way the big dealers do it, though I'm way less coordinated. Sometimes I just kind of move them around. So I'm just shuffling and I'm thinking about what kind of general message the universe has for us this week. Whatever your kind of week ahead has for you until next Tuesday. Let's see kind of what things to keep in mind. Let's see what the tarot can tell us. I feel like I want to shuffle one more time. And yes, make a lot of noise. Here's a fun fact. I've been reading tarot for so long that I'm not very good at shuffling actual playing cards. I'm more used to shuffling big tarot cards. So if you gave me like a deck of actual like poker cards to shuffle, I would really struggle. But I can shuffle tarot cards easily. All right. Okay, so the message from the universe this evening is... This is very interesting considering the question I just had. This is temperance. All right. So let's talk a little bit about temperance if you've never seen this card before. And I think that this is a neat representation of the card of temperance in this particular deck. So temperance is a major arcana card, which means for me as a reader, hi Dorothy, temperance for me is a card that is, because it's a major arcana card, I always think of those cards as being in capital letters. Like when a major arcana card shows up, it's like the universe is knocking on your head and saying, hey, hey, guess what? You need to listen real hard right now. So temperance is... In the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith decks, temperance is depicted as a kind of an angel pouring water from one cup to another. And there's kind of a balance happening. And the word temperance is a little bit archaic. You heard it more, you know, like late 19th, early 20th centuries. I don't think people like say it very much anymore, but it had a connotation with doing things in moderation. It also had a connotation with like being anti-alcohol back when that was like a thing during Prohibition, like temperance movements and stuff. So temperance is an interesting card. One thing that is interesting about temperance's appearance in the tarot is that it's in between two cards that people tend to be terrified of in terms of its number. Temperance appears between death and the devil in the tarot deck. So it literally is between the devil and the deep blue sea, so to speak. And that is I think that's definitely deliberate. And it reminds us that even in the midst of really difficult times and in the midst of what we see as a really paralyzing and scary situation, that there is a place to turn to for support and for knowledge and for sanctuary. So it's a card that sometimes represents like transitions. It represents balancing indulgences, like overindulgences. If you tend to indulge in lots of things, it sort of reminds you to be more moderate. But there's sort of a, let's see, there's sort of a reminder in the situation that's really difficult or that can be kind of unbearable that there is a light at the end. One of the sort of principles of the belief system that tarot puts out there is that nothing lasts forever. Everything is temporal. Everything is transitive. And temperance kind of shows up oftentimes to tell us that even in the midst of really tough stuff, when we feel surrounded on all sides by negativity, by challenges, by pain, by just unbearably bad situations, that there is a light and that those bad situations will end. As you can see, that this is represented by a heron on this deck, which is interesting. And we see that this heron is dripping water onto a fire. And that kind of is symbolic of putting out kind of this raging fire, easing the pain of a difficult situation. So how can we actually apply temperance? In what situations might it be good to take a temperance approach? If you've ever heard the phrase like burning the candle at both ends, that's another thing that comes to mind when we're thinking about temperance and asking yourself, like, do you need to stop that? Is there a way that you can take more time for yourself and recharge? Are you indulging too much? Is there too much going on? Maybe you're eating too much or staying up too late or watching too much Netflix or scrolling on your phone way past 1 a.m. Not that anyone would ever have that as a bad habit. I certainly don't know anyone who has that as a bad habit who needs to stop. Temperance is asking you to look at all of those things that could be draining you and making it so that you are becoming weaker and making difficult situations worse. This is a transitive time of the year for a lot of folks because a lot of people are moving, who are in academia or who are teachers or who have children who are going back to school. That can be a time when you are seeing a transition happen and perhaps your schedule is going to change really radically or you're going to be taking on a lot of new things. That's definitely what's happening in my life. So look to, what tends to happen when you move into that sort of transition place, or look to what you usually turn to when you're in a difficult situation. Look to the things that you sometimes turn to when life gets tough. And are they things that are healthy or are they things that are actually burning you out more? Yeah. Had a couple of folks just speaking here. Yeah, Catherine says, love Tuesday Tarot. I love it too. I'm so glad you're here, Catherine. Foon posted an emoji of someone doing yoga. Absolutely. Renee says, been trying to majorly cut down on drinking. Oh, yeah. Foon says, I sleep too late. I come home, and also my PM routine is too excessive. Well, that's, that's up for debate. But sleeping too late and coming home too late, yeah, I hear that. Catherine says, what kind of bird is on the card? I believe it is a heron. Looks to me like a heron bird. I don't know a lot of the mythology around herons. If anyone knows any kind of like symbolism behind this bird, kind of as a symbol, that would be interesting. I know that, herons appear in the water and stuff like that. Whenever I see herons, they're, they look very graceful to me. So I think of temperance as being kind of like a graceful card. So when the going gets tough, we often rely on our comforts and we often rely on our coping mechanisms, but not all of those coping mechanisms are healthy. Sometimes I overeat or eat too much ice cream or something, or just flop like a blob on the couch and watch TV for hours. Or I also often, again, scroll too much on my phone, and instead of putting my screens down at 10:30 at night like I've been trying to do, and reading until I get sleepy. Food says, that flame under the bird, what does that represent? I believe that this flame under the bird, as you can see, there's some water drops kind of coming down from the heron's body kind of onto the flame. And I think that represents cooling and sort of putting out this fire that seems very difficult to quench, like tempering the fire with water, sort of using the mechanisms that we have to really productively stop ourselves from burning out. Fire. So I was thinking about this. I was thinking about self-care, because that's a big thing in Sabbatical Beauty, and that's an important thing. And I've learned a lot about self-care by being part of this community. And I know that self-care is now like trendy, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Like, oh, self-care. And I think that it's important that we have conversations about self-care to make sure that what we think of as self-care is not self-indulgence. It's okay to indulge, but if we indulge too much, we're going to end up affecting ourselves in a negative way. And I think that sometimes we can swing too far the other way on things if we're used to kind of battling extremes, and we're kind of living in an extreme time in history in this world. So, if you say to yourself, oh, I work so hard, I'm just gonna lay on the couch for 2 days and watch Netflix and eat Cheetos because I deserve it, and that's my self-care. Like, that's, I don't know if that's self-care at this point. I'm sure it's fun for a little while, but then you feel sick because you ate a whole bag of Cheetos, and you try to get up to do something, and your whole entire body hurts because you've been laying on the couch for like 5 hours without moving. That is not self-care. That self-indulgence that actually makes it harder for you to be taking care of yourself. So the message for this week, then, I'm saying, is for all of us to look closely at our lives, especially, look at this particular time of this year, this month, this particular season, and ask ourselves, what are the big stressors right now? What are the things that are really going to push us to our limits and push us toward the things that we use to cope, push us toward our coping mechanisms? And we should ask ourselves, are our coping mechanisms healthy? Are they helpful? And if not, is there a way to change them and start to sort of move the needle so that our coping mechanisms are more geared towards self-care versus just too much self-indulgence? So, like, one ice cream cone is great, but if you ate ice cream for like 2 of your meals in a day for 4 days straight, you probably feel sick as hell. Speaking as someone who's, eaten a lot of junk food many days in a row at many points in my life, at a certain point, it's not fun anymore. You just feel sick. And your body is like, please give me vegetables. Or if you don't move for a while, your muscles can start to atrophy. It can be really hard to do simple tasks. If you, really zone out and switch off watching Netflix or whatever too much on the television, instead of, maybe taking a walk in nature or calling a friend or something, that can be too much. So let's be like Temperance. Let's look for those fires and try to put them out with things that are actually healthy. Don't pour gasoline on a fire, pour water on it. I think that's what is being said to us today by this lovely heron, Mr. Temperance. All right. So, in the spirit of temperance, and in the spirit of what is important for doing well by ourselves today. I am going to end this Tarot Tuesday right now because I have to get up at 5:45 to go to work tomorrow. And there's still a lot of stuff that I have to do tonight before I can get in bed and actually like turn my phone off by 10:30. So how about that? I'm gonna actually try to put this message from the universe into practice. So as you're going through this week, feel free to ping me, ask me questions. I will be doing another, I think I'm doing She's a Sabbatical Beauty next week with Marissa, and I'm going to be reading for Marissa live, so that'll be cool. So tell me this week, if you're in the Sabbatical Beauty group, what you thought about this advice from the tarot, and if there was anything that you changed about your behavior, anything that you changed about the things that you do to kind of make you to make your coping mechanisms more healthy. Were you able to maybe change your habits, or, you know, instead of laying on the couch watching Netflix for like the third hour, did you like take a short walk in nature and kind of breathe in the natural energy? That's what I'm going to try to do. So, and I'm definitely going to try to do what I didn't do last night, because I stayed in bed as I was going to sleep. Instead of actually turning my phone over and closing my eyes and just breathing, I started scrolling through social media until about 1:30 in the morning. That's no good. No good. No good. So see if you can do just one thing in terms of self-care to try to, you know, feed yourself, your spirit, your body, instead of, you know, just kind of snuffing it out or zoning it out. Or I'm running out of words here. I need to get back into the groove. Do something that actually nourishes you, as opposed to just stops your hunger temporarily. You know, you can be hungry, and you could either eat like a nice healthy like salad with some chicken and, you know, some nice ranch dressing. I live in the Midwest. Or you can eat an entire bag of Cheetos. You'll be full either way, but you'll feel like crap if you eat one, and you feel better if you eat the other one. Thank you very much, Renee. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. If you have any questions, feel free to ping me anytime. Just tag me, Julie Alexander, and I hope that you have a restful and nourishing week. Mwah, love you. Good night.